special guest. So make sure you share it. Hello, hello, good evening, King. How are you? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Did you share the live? Maybe a good one tonight. We're going to give it a few more minutes before we start. How was your Monday? How was your weekend? That's good. I'm doing well. A little tired. I had a busy weekend, but I'm good. Thank you for asking. Let me know if this is your first time on our show, viewing us tonight. I'm not sure if I've seen you on here before, but let me know. I could be wrong. Let us know where you're watching from. One more minute here. So I guess let's get started. So happy Monday, welcome. I thought I'd do a pop-up because I've been wanting to do an interview with this amazing person for a while, and he's finally has time for me. So we thought we'd do it from yes, you are. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. So like I said, I've been wanting to have this special guest on our show for a while. He made some time in his busy schedule for us, so I thought, why not just do a quick pop-up? What you just heard was Pan Kingdom, Mark Loquan, composed, I guess, and arranged by Amrit Samaru. It's played by Falcon Steel. So on that note, for those that are new, welcome to All Things Pan. My name is Danielle George. Our sponsor is Pantastics868. Make sure you check them out on Instagram or Facebook. They have everything from tenor sticks all the way to bass sticks. If you live in North America, make sure you message me. I will do my best to get them to you. So for those that are new, on this page we talk to panists, arrangers, tuners, pan enthusiasts pertaining to all things pan. But tonight, I am super excited to have a special guest tonight. Just trying to see if I can get him on here. Mark, you might have to go on your phone if you're not already. So yeah, I've been like I said before, I've been wanting to have him on my show for a while. Just waiting for him to be able so I can invite him on here. Just waiting. So, yeah, he's a composer. He's been doing a lot in the pan community. And I just thought I'd pick his brain on his love for pan and why he's doing the things he's doing and composing music, seeing what his thought process is when it comes to composing and all that fun stuff. So hopefully we can get him on. Just waiting for him to log on his phone so we can get him on here. Okay, let's try this, see if this works.
Good night.
We got it.
Hi, Daniel.
How are you?
I'm fine. And you?
I'm good. A little tired, but I'm here. I'm good.
Well, I know this is season 5. Good night, everybody, all those listeners listening in. Good night.
Yeah.
I know this is season 5, and we've been trying to meet up for some time. So that,
Yes. I'm glad you were able to make a little time for me. I'm happy.
right.
I'm excited. So, for those that don't know, do you want to kind of give us, you've done a lot, so just like a brief intro about yourself. Let people know who you are.
A brief intro. Composing for music for Panorama for about 20 years. Um, really started late. I didn't really start when I was young. Started late, then got into, I guess, all kinds of different projects, from the Music Literacy Trust to Pan in Education to Pan Notation to now videos being produced about Pan. So it's been evolving. It's still evolving, right?
Yeah. So let's start. Where did you get your love for Pan? Because you said before you started late. So how did that come about?
Well, I think it started when I got some visitors that came from, I think it was Norway, and it was more for work. I
Okay.
took them to see Panorama, and they were blown away, and so was I. It's like that was not something that I would have normally gone to. And
Right.
I remember the day afterwards saying, "I've got to learn this instrument." And I felt I think I got that urge then, because I was so proud of hearing this magnificent sound on stage. And I went into Silver Stars the next, I think, the same week, and said
Oh wow.
I want to learn that. Um, and it just evolved from there to being a stateside member of the
Yeah.
in Silver Stars, and then playing Panorama, and then the World Steelpan Festival, and different things.
Yeah.
So I think that was one part of it, and the other part of it was, the first time hearing your composition on Pan. It was actually for Pan is Beautiful, when we used to have that.
Mhm.
Um, and one of my songs played. It was my very first song that I ever recorded, and we won. This was with a band called Belmont Supersonics in the ensemble category, and the song was a land
Yeah.
ball. So that was fun.
Yeah. So that was you got bit. You were in
I
it.
think I think I've written songs about the pan jumpy and biting me, and passion for pan. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna talk about your composing later on, so we can actually get into the nitty gritty of that. But you spoke about pan notation. Why is it so important for you to have pan in that kind of on that platform where you can get music, learn about other bands around the world, Panis, all that stuff? What was your passion behind that?
Well, I think that has been another evolving story, because when I was playing with Silver Stars, there would be times when you were some person would not be around, and then you couldn't play the arrangement anymore. And
Right.
and I just found those arrangements were so fantastic, and all of a sudden we can't play it. So
Hmm.
that arrangements, and of course, if you take the Panorama, or Mecca of Pan, and we have all these great arrangements, and you look to see, well, where are they? Uh,
Right.
where's the Bradley arrangements and so on? That, yeah, apart from recordings. So this
Yeah.
whole idea of preservation, came in probably early 2000s, when I formed the Music Literacy Trust with Dr. Pat Bishop and Sat Sharma, Dr. Ann Osborne, and it was,
Yeah.
how do we preserve this music, and how do we, not only my music, but how do we preserve the music of our icons, and what happens when they're no longer around, and
Hmm.
so that work was about preservation. We started off with Dr. Jit Samur, actually, and then we went on to Ray Holman and Ken Fillmore, Edwin Pouchette, Junior Pouchette, Bob
Yeah.
Mohammed, Bertie Marshall, and we ended up scoring a lot of this music with the intent that the music ends back into the education system, and the students kind of learn some of the techniques, and how they orchestrate, how they spread the chords. And I think that was an experience that I went through with the Music Literacy Trust.
Mm-hmm.
The other part about that was, how do we add another component, which is how do we get people through certification and degree programs? And it was before the what you call the government assisted program gate was around. So this was actually helping students before that time, and it was
Right.
intended that while we score music, you also have to have people who could learn to read it and play it. So it was
Yeah.
also helping, many of the people that we see today have been beneficiaries of, scholarships in some partial form, to help them either go through UE or maybe NIU and so on. And those, that was back in, I would say, the early 2000s as well that we were doing that. So I'm just giving you some timeline before
Yeah.
Panotation on the scene. But
Yeah.
it was really about trying to capture our music, and I think it went into the fact that the 20-year concert that I had back in 2019, it was all intended to culminate in all of this concert and so on. But there was also a music literacy conference about how do we score our music and all of these issues,
Mm-hmm.
and with the intent that the global community has expanded so much over the last decades that it would it be wonderful that everybody can contribute to a platform like this.
Mm-hmm.
You could kind of learn from each other in a way, and it's not unique to Trinidad. Trinidad still is the mecca and center of the innovation of fan, but I
Yeah.
mean, it has evolved where people are reading music, scoring music, composing music. So where do we capture that, and how do we kind of have it in one place that everybody can learn from it? So that was the idea behind it. It still is the idea.
Yeah.
Still, it's early days.
Yeah. So where do you see pan notation in the future? Like, where would you like it to go? Where do you see it?
Well, I mean, it's in addition to the scores, there's also a section that is really there for education. So that it includes podcasts, articles, thesis. I mean, anything to do really with the
Mm-hmm.
band. I mean, the history of bands, and you know. So I think if this works the way I would certainly like it to work, is that from the capturing of our own information, and I'm talking Trinidad as well as globally, where you could have all the history of steel bands, and you could have all the theses on pans and the articles and the podcasts of people talking why they do things, how they do things,
Mm-hmm.
best practices. I mean, then it becomes a site where you don't have to go all over the place to find it, but if you could find it in one spot, that's one part of it, and the other
Right.
it is the scores, and how do we kind of now have that where people can actually find scores, and they can download it and use it, and people get paid for it and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
um, and then if you fast forward again, then it becomes a sustainable machinery, because the intent is once you start to make back something from all the
Yeah.
things you invested, that at least it goes back in a not for profit, and it does the same things of supporting human resource development and sustainability initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of us who have gone through these things have found that funding stops. It stops after some time, and you start a program in a school, and then you can't get funding again, and then the program disappears. So
Yeah.
it's really about building sustainability for all of us, and really we make it work.
Right.
So that's the idea where it can go, but it's not there yet.
I'll get there. I'll get there. We're behind you. We're behind you. That's for sure. So if someone is scoring a song for the first time or composing a song, they want to put it on pan notation just to see what the reaction would be. Can someone do that, or do they have to do? What's the process of putting their music on your platform?
Well, first of all, they would have to register, and we know that you're a valid person on the site, and there's some basic details that are where you're from, that kind of thing, your email.
Mhm.
Once that happens, then there's an agreement that the process that you would go through, that if you want to put something up, the team would actually get notified, and then you would have to, they will know whether there's there's any copyright activity we need to do, and speak with any organization. But once it goes up and it is all valid and so on,
Mhm.
then essentially it becomes part of the website, and hopefully people find it, discover it by being members of this whole process.
Yeah.
And then if they like it, they download it, and then it's any proceeds we essentially have to, of course, deduct for the costs of the site and all of these kinds of things. But then there's a portion that goes back to the arrangers if everything is working fine. That is
Mhm.
the idea.
Yeah. Okay. So anyone that has any music out there, put it up. Don't
Yes.
be shy. Just put it
The,
up.
the CEO is Dr. Mia Gormady Benjamin, and
Yeah.
there's a team, and at least if you know Mia, who then at least contact her, contact Pannotation, and make sure you get all the details you need.
Yeah, for sure. For someone that doesn't live in Trinidad and is looking for a mentor, is there any way they can contact you guys just to kind of put them in the right direction, or is it just kind of fend for yourself, find your own mentor?
Well, when you say a mentor, in what do you mean in reference?
Um, just like becoming a better pan player or looking to become a business when it comes to pan.
Hmm. Um,
Yeah.
Well, I have to say the Pannotation doesn't have quite those materials yet, but
Hmm.
but I think it would be nice to have those kinds of materials up, whether it's tutorials, whether it's podcasts, whether it's somebody who's going through things. As I said, it
Yeah.
accommodates the information to be put there, so it really doesn't have to be from Trinidad. It could be somebody else
Somewhere else. Yeah.
doing it as well. But at least you find it in the same.
Hmm.
I would say right now, I don't think we have those podcasts and videos, but there's nothing preventing it from happening once we start to build it up.
Right. Right. I'm going to talk about all the videos that you have produced, like you mentioned before, A Better Tomorrow. What was the idea behind that?
Yeah, better tomorrow. Okay, so
Because it was really good. I watched it twice.
thank you. Well, a better tomorrow came about. At least the song came about when there was a lot of, I would say, turbulence going on in the States, and I think it was just after George Floyd and events,
Yeah.
movements across the states. There were riots in sea lots in Port of Spain with some localized events, and then COVID had just hit us into a few months, and jobs and various things were going on, lockdowns, and it was a time where it seemed pretty dark in those days,
Yeah.
and the song was written to say, well, okay, we'll get through this in a way. If there will be a better tomorrow. There's a lot of talent that we have in Trinidad and Tobago. So let's kind of use it. Let's build the foundation for tomorrow for the children. Kind of lift up each other, help each other, kind of thing, while we
Yeah.
go through our own personal challenges. So that was the essence of the song. And then it was a whole nother story. How do you make the video of the song? And it was difficult
Hmm.
with COVID and lockdown. So we said, well, let's animate it, and we ended up using Gem GFX with Everett McBain and Dixie and Archie McBain. Wonderful couple, just two of them, and
Yeah.
it was a chance to take because I never used them. I never did animation, but it was interesting to take an anime type story. Use one of our local heroes and icons, in this case, Terry Lyons, reigning Calypso monarch,
Yeah.
life with some story that says, well, yes, you have to conquer a lot of things along the way, but
Hmm.
and if you manage to do that, it's going to be tough, But in the end, you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel in a way. So that
Yeah.
the story. But I think this has evolved now to say, well, you know, A Better Tomorrow is not about a song. It's about a series of stories that
Hmm.
started, you know, an offshoot with Kareem Brown, and there were like 6 episodes, as you saw, right? Because you know, it was just an example to show that, you know, yes, there's a lot of challenges, but if you take all the dimensions of community, of family, of history, of the area where you live, and you put it all together, wow, who knows what might come out, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
a lot of people see people at the end of that journey, and you don't know what,
Right.
you know, what
What they went through.
they went through, stories are. So, you know, that was the essence of that. So that was one offshoot. I'm working on another offshoot, which I won't say yet, but it's coming out soon. Um, but it's all in the vein of showing that, you know, that you know, we can think in a manner where we take all these stories about people and you put them together, and I'm sure, you know, there are millions of stories of people in Pan all around the world. So
Yeah.
who knows where.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I thought I'd get it out of him. I thought he would just spill it out. It's exclusive. No one will know. It's okay. It's okay. I'll try. I'll try again later, guys. So from when you started Pan in the 90s to now, have you seen any improvement or any difference, or do you think we've kind of been stagnant for a while? What are your thoughts? What from what you've seen?
You know, like when I started, there was this big trust about if you take musically, at least,
Hmm. Yeah.
trust about you know, having new music for Pan. Uh,
Hmm.
and that's why there was an offshoot with Pan on the Move. That was another story. But
Yeah.
the idea of composing music for Pan, I mean, at that time, going back to those days, was I think it was good that we were composing new music for Pan. You know, that's how you got all the big songs that we know about. You know, um, and you know, it started off, as you know, with calypsonians and people doing, you know, taking those songs, and then we started off with Ray Holman doing his own thing, and I
Yeah.
think now at the point of, you know, we're using other people's songs again, which is, you know, the soca artists, but where's
Hmm.
music? I'm sure that people producing music as well, but um, I think the advancements that I would have liked to see musically. Um, has not happened. So I would have liked to see, you know, much more original music for Pan. Not necessarily Panorama, but I'm not talking Panorama.
Just in general.
Just in general, you know, where's the new
Yeah.
the music that people are producing? I'd love to see much more of that, you know. Uh,
Hmm.
if you take the whole area of, you know, the sciences behind the instrument and the fact that it's fairly early in the evolution in the broad scheme of things, but
Hmm.
it would be nice to see much more advancements in the, I would say, the sciences and the, you know, research and development.
Right.
You know, that whole encouragement, I would certainly love to see that. If you take, you know, Pan being integrated into the, this is certainly thinking outside of Panorama, by the way,
Yeah. Yeah.
but thinking that, you know, the pan as an instrument, you know, being integrated with, you know, the orchestra and, you know, the, you know, any, you know, the main pieces of you know, mainstream of music as well. It's still
Hmm.
pretty early days, right? So
Yeah.
I would love to see much more integration of the instrument as an instrument, you know, with you know, other groups of instruments and performing, and it becomes a natural thing that you have pan as you do have a keyboard, you know. Uh,
Hmm.
that's not there. We're not there yet, but you know, yet pan is still all over the world and it's growing and so on. I think there's been advancements in music literacy and scoring. I think a lot more people are becoming, literate, studied music and various things like that. So
Yeah.
that's certainly changing. So those are the sort of a broad wavelengths. But if you take today, 2022, and you ask, is our music, being played on the radio, that you would hear like, Jamaica playing reggae.
Yeah.
I think there's a long way to go to kind of see, well, it started right here. We should be able to hear this,
Hmm.
constantly. But as a composer, it's like, you do a song, you invest in it, and you put your heart and soul in it, and you can't get it played, and so on, right? So
Right.
so some areas really have not, progressed in those kind of areas. I hope it changes in some of these respects, where at least, some of those areas can advance, quickly. But I think globally, as an instrument, it certainly has
Hmm.
spread tremendously in schools, and
Yeah.
if you take the big picture, it certainly has blossomed in many areas, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so I think there's an opportunity, therefore, to connect more, and there's an opportunity to learn more from each other globally. Um, you know, Panorama as an event, I mean, yes, that could still happen, of course, and be there. But I was talking broader in the whole scheme
Yeah.
of, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think, I'm just trying to think, how would you think we could, as a pan community, try to get the pan more than just a pan, more than just, it reminds me of the island when I come off the boat, kind of thing, a cruise ship. What do you think as a community we can do to change the aspect or the mindset of everyone globally?
Well, a good place is always starting in schools. I mean, that's always a good thing to have, where Pan is in school, but is playing all kinds of music and so on.
Hmm.
So, and of course, that exists in some places. The other thing is to start integrating music. So it's not just Pan,
Yeah,
you're integrating it with the big band, the orchestra, and I mean, that is also.
another way. Oh, I think we lost your sound. Can anyone hear him? I think we lost you. I can't hear you. Oh, there we go.
Okay, sorry about that. I think a call.
That's okay.
That's what happened.
Oh, yeah. Okay, no worries. Go ahead.
So I don't know what you heard up to. I was talking about integrating it with different instruments, and
Yeah,
as we are all globally located now, there might be varied opportunities depending on where you are and what's going on. But I think that is certainly a way to get it out. It's not dependent on one area, but uh,
right.
schools is one thing, and integrating it with many other instruments as well.
Yeah. Um, do you, for me, I would really love to see it in like the Emmys or the Grammys, just something where it's like where the world can see it. Do you feel we can get there if we keep doing what we're doing?
I hope so. I mean, I really
Yeah.
hope we can get there. And
Yeah.
I don't see there's nothing holding us back from getting there if we kind of set our minds. Well, this is what we want to do, and yeah, sure, that can
Yeah.
happen. You know,
Yeah.
start getting together with some of the big players if you can, and of course, Robbie Greenidge is already playing in a way, so that you can't forget things
Yeah.
like going on. Um,
Yeah.
so clearly, yeah, it can happen.
Yeah. Okay. You heard it here first, guys. Let's get on it.
Get on it.
Get on it. So we're getting close to the second half of our interview. Let's talk about composing.
Mm.
Let's get into that a bit. So what is your, if you don't mind me asking, what is your process into composing? Like what is your thought process? How do you start?
Um, I guess that has evolved too, because
Okay.
in the early times, I didn't know what angle to take because I was in composing, writing all the lyrics. I was singing myself. I recorded and do an album like that. So
Yeah.
I think it started off with the Passion for Pan album where I was composing stories about the Pan world. So those were
Yeah.
stories like Passion for Pan and, Where the Pan Man Gone and Another Time, Another Place. So those were the early days. And I think as time went on, it was about, well, that's not necessarily what the audience wants because, when I was doing that, it was using a lot of chords. So
Right.
I grew up on guitar, uh, playing a lot of the, well, this might have to say how old I am, but we was playing a lot of
It's okay.
a lot of the music back in the day, this was before internet, so you had to kind of figure out the chords and put and use a lot of chords. And I mean, I guess everybody knows players like the Billy Joel and Elton John,
Mhm.
and they use a lot of chords, and
Yeah.
that music appealed to me. So when I started off, it was using a lot of chord structures. And so where do I start? I usually start with the music as opposed to the words, right? And
Okay.
once there's a structure of, is there a verse that builds up to a chorus, and is there a bridge? I started off using in bridge as well to kind of take you away from the song and then bring you back in the song. But as the music evolved, you would find me using, from fairly early, a lot less chords. And
Right.
also, yeah, forget the bridge. That just complicates things some more. So I think over the years, it became a more simplification of the music compared to what I started with.
Hmm.
And it was interesting. I would say from 2008 onwards, it was, well, let me hear what the arranger perspective is. So that's, you found me working together with Edwin Pouchette and Ken Fillmore,
Yeah.
Amrit Samaru, Sion Gomez, and just to get their, perspective. So while I do a piece of music, they were,
Hmm.
that part is too complicated, or change it like this, or I'm feeling it a lot better from a transition standpoint, and they would make little tweaks like that.
Right.
So some of my compositions went to co-composition, so to speak, and let the arranging side also come into that equation. Um,
Hmm.
and the lyrics, as I said, some of the early days was writing the story yourself, um, which I also did at the end, which like A Better Tomorrow. Um,
Yeah.
but in between, you would find me using, others like Destra would write her own lyrics, and um, whereas I would write the lyrics or get somebody else to write the lyrics for Denise Plummer and so on. But Destra was writing her own music and singing a song, which I found
Right.
was good because the music would be there, but
Right.
she would be able to tell this story herself, um, and feel it herself. So I think that's how it changed along the way, um,
Hmm.
until the end where I started to say, well, okay, 20 years have kind of passed now. And let's try something for, like, Independence Day, like My Home.
Right.
Completely different
Good
song.
song. Completely different, but it was good.
Completely different. Let's make it kind of, patriotic
Yeah.
and so on. Um, and have it done for choir and orchestra and steel band, and it's more instrumental with some of the
Hmm.
words coming in here and there in the end. But it
Right.
so that's how that song evolved, from music. And then there would be times, like very strange times, like, I was leaving the hospital with Andy Schiff, I think it was, and I asked Andy. He did the first couple of songs with me, if you look back, and Glory
Hmm.
and another one. But we were leaving the hospital. I think it was Manish's father who was in the hospital, uh,
Right.
Robinson in Japan. and I went to visit him. And then leaving the hospital, I asked Andy, "Do you know this song?" Da 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 da. And he said, "No, I don't know that song." Well, that's Fire and Steel. So I said, "Okay, let me put some words to it and all that." And that was Fire and Steel the
Yeah.
next day, you know.
Yeah.
And then Colors Again was a song that the music was already there. It was like I felt I didn't have to do anything at all, and it was more trying to find the chords of a
Right.
melody that was already existing. Um, of course, it never existed, but here was a song that was now starting. So it was interesting doing Colors Again that way.
Yeah. That's interesting. And funny enough, when I was looking at your like all your accomplishments, there's a lot of songs that my dad made my band play that were your compositions, and I never knew. But
Right?
now listening back, you can kind of tell you kind of have you have you have a special way of speaking, and I can kind of tell which ones are yours. Now looking back,
That's right. Some people have told me that. I don't know what it
yeah,
is. Yes.
I can't explain it, but you have a way of speaking, and I like it.
Well, then there'd be other ways too, because sometimes the compositions would, as I say, I'm heavily guitar oriented, so they would be worked out that way. Or
Hmm.
it might be that I would sit down on a keyboard, and that's how hooked happened,
Yeah,
and just work out the chords and melody, and it just flows. Uh,
yeah,
then the other time it would be like working out a melody on the tenor pan, and that would be songs like Good Times or the Virtual Kingdom, the Virtual Steelpan, Pan Kingdom, and just
yeah.
looking on melodies on the different instruments, just to experiment to see if there's a different sound. But uh,
Right.
yeah, that's the
It
process.
it is, and I like the process. It's good. It's working for you.
Okay.
Do you think you're still finding your way, like your sound, or do you think you've gotten it? You're just composing and putting music out there. Because I know there's some arrangers that are still trying to find their voice, and some composers that are still trying to find their voice, and even some soloists are still trying to find their voice in a way. So, do you think you're still working on it? Do you think you found it, honed in on it? This is how you're doing things.
For a composer, you always wish that the next one will be the real one. It's like
Right.
you're never satisfied. I don't know if I found my format because um, I guess where I started was composing, pop music essentially, a lot of chords and
Right.
that. And then going in pan, and it's more now. What's the story? And
Mm.
it's not panorama anymore. It's
Yeah.
whatever the project might be, and
Right.
having a theme in mind and composing specifically for that, um, which is, um, I guess, more difficult, you know,
Hmm. Okay.
because it's more like getting pieces of music and trying to put it together as opposed to, well, I'm gonna go with a panorama song, and this is the theme here, and this is what I do, verse chorus. Um,
Right.
it's not like that anymore. Um, Strange enough.
Yeah. Is there a song that you've done over the years that is just like, that is my favorite song? I will never forget my process of doing that song. Do you have one yet? Do you have a few?
There's one. There's of course there's a songs like "Colors Again" where I explained, I didn't have to do anything. It was like
Yeah.
it was
It was just there.
there. Um,
Yeah.
so you'll always remember things like that because it's the least effort. Um,
Yeah.
but there are songs like that mean a lot to me. That particularly the early ones.
Hmm.
Another time, another place, which is
Yes.
um, a combination of this is stories about dreaming what it can be, uh,
Right.
and I think to some extent I still do. Um, So a lot of those stories still mean a lot to me in terms of, how can I contribute? What can I do? What's the next level?
Right.
So I think that song means a lot to me. It was never played except for the 20-year anniversary concert, but you won't find it in
Yeah.
an album or anything like that. But it's
Right.
yeah, I would say that's
Yeah.
me.
Good to know. Good to know. Now everyone's gonna play it just to honor you. Is there an artist or a band that you've always wanted to kind of compose music for, or have you done that already?
Artist or band? Well, if you're talking you're talking like panoramas type arrangements or
Anything. Anything.
um, well, I think Etienne was one of those people I really would have liked to do a song.
Yeah.
We did, you know. Uh, so I'm glad Etienne put his own jazz style and big band feel to the mic,
Yeah.
which I explained, meant a lot from what can each of us do to build our home,
Mhm.
or my home.
Right.
So that was certainly clearly Etienne is one of those that I would have. If you asked me back then, yeah, he'd be one of those that I love to do one with. Um,
Yeah.
David Rudder was the next one. I said, I'd love to have a song that David Rudder could at least sing and do just to get. In fact, I did approach him at another time, another place that that was a long time ago.
Hmm.
And he did call me back and so on, but it wasn't a fit at the time what he was doing and so on. But it was, I still like to do, David Rudder.
Okay.
And so that'd be cool. Um, yeah. Uh,
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, Destra was a big one at the time because, she has such a great voice.
Yeah.
And, and so I'm glad I was working with Destra for many years, and she's, it was just a joy to work with.
Hmm.
But if you say beyond that, I think if you ask me that today, it'd be more like, orchestras and, what kind of orchestras I'd like to have playing this music. Um, so yeah, conventional orchestra side, sure, I'd love to have music for that,
Okay. Let's see what we can do. Everyone listening, let's help them out.
Yeah.
When you're composing a song, do you have an artist in mind when you're doing it,
Mm. Well, when I was
or
writing,
a band in mind?
for Denise Plummer, it'll be for how she sang the song and how she would deliver it. Yes, that would,
Mm,
and Destra did it. It would be the same kind of, imagination going on with how she would do things. Um, but beyond that, and not having anyone after that, it was like, um, just imagine hearing the band playing it, and
right.
the satisfaction was more, watching the faces of the people playing the music, and at least hopefully they get some joy out of it, and knowing that, well, that was created from nothing in a way, and here it is,
Hmm.
being performed, and that's the reward, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, yes, I always enjoy that part of the feedback where you see people jumping and doing it. Thanks to the arranger, of course, doing that, doing
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So we're coming near the end. If anyone has any questions, you're more than welcome to ask. I have a question I usually ask all my guests, just to get to know you a bit more on a personal level.
All right.
What
Huh?
what is a fun fact about you that no one knows? Keep it clean.
Fun fact. Yeah. Maybe I like to collect a lot of history books on Trinidad and Tobago. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I've stopped doing it for a while now because it ran out of space. But I think I like learning. I like
Yeah.
learning, and there's just so much to learn. I like learning about our culture, history, and so on. And it's not only about Pan, but um, it's also researching things and getting things, somehow captured. I like those things.
Yeah. So if there's a fact about Trinidad that you don't think anyone knows, that you know, what do you think that would be?
Fact about Trinidad that only I know.
Well, you said you've got a lot of history books about Trinidad. So what do you think what is one like interesting thing about Trinidad that no one really knows or think they would know?
That's a good one. Well, the thing about it is, I think um, I've met too many people, put it this way, that have
Mm,
done so much in various areas. But so, like, there's a guy, I won't call his name, but there's a guy who's um, up, he's a civil engineer, and he applied, finite element analysis, because you do that in he does that in his job. But he applied
yeah.
to Japan, and he actually came up with the vibration analysis, because you have to do that um, for buildings and so on. And that's there. We have that talent in Trinidad,
Right.
and I just wish we would capitalize that. Capitalize on that in Trinidad.
Hmm.
Capitalize that for more development, of the instrument. But there's things like that I've come across in this journey that I know exist, and I'm sure there are others. But yeah, I just wish we would see much more than that.
Yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there. Because a lot of people are starting to recognize that Trinidad is a special place and it's a nice place to visit. So it'll happen.
And happen.
Flogo had a comment saying, "I appreciate what you've done for the culture."
And thank you very much.
So yeah, we all do. You've done more than we could ever imagine, and you're still doing it. We love it.
More to come. More to come.
Yeah. So is there any, I know you mentioned there's a project that you won't mention, but I'm going to try again anyway. Do you have any projects that we should look out for?
Well, the Pan on the Move was a good project to at least um, start the process of saying, well, here's a story that everyone's, forgot about 50 years ago.
Okay.
And you can see the impact of that. So, hopefully, we'll see that at a film festival coming up, hopefully. I mean, not only on YouTube and thing, but I mean, on a cinema screen somewhere. Um, so, yeah, hope for that to happen. That's one going on. And
Okay.
there's a Better Tomorrow series that's a series. It's just a bunch of stories that is coming.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait. And for those that just joined, do you want to mention about pad notation and all that stuff, even though they should know what it is, but just for those, just in case.
Well, for Pannotation, for those just joining, it's a site where there are two main elements. One is the scores part of it, where people can register, upload, and purchase scores, and the other side of it, which is more the education, where there are podcasts and articles and thesis and you know all the various stuff that you can learn on Pan, and is now being built. So while it started here in Trinidad and Tobago, it's really supposed to be a global car that we drive in.
Mm-hmm.
All of us driving it. So it's now beginning, and it's less than a year old. It's now about trying to get it out there. I know Mia and the team had organized a conference recently, and there was a lot of interest on and knowledge being put together in coming out of those kinds of conferences. It means that we'll do more of that.
Yay.
Um,
I'm glad because that was a really good conference. I learned a lot.
so did I. There was
Yeah.
really a lot of stuff coming out of that.
Hmm.
So we hope that's a continuing thing. Not I hope, but it will happen. That'll be a continuing thing.
Yeah.
So that's what Panotation is all about. It's www.panotation.com, and hopefully you register, and if you have music to upload, find that space and contact them, and somebody will respond and say, okay, do this, do that, whatever, and
Yeah.
we get there.
Love it. Do you have a section for tuners if there's anyone around the world looking for tuners? Or is that coming? Is that an idea that you guys are kind of playing around with?
Well, that's a good idea. And I think the site could be one of those sites where you can find that information, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was in Australia, I facilitated, is the word, facilitated the strategic plan that was about where are all the bands and where
Yeah.
students for the bands, and that was very valuable information for sort of a wide geography.
Yeah.
Interesting to actually get all of that information, and I think we can do the same here, and learn who are the tuners, where are they, what's going on.
Yeah.
So
Even the builders,
yeah, the builder, the manufacturers,
manufacturers, yeah.
pan stick makers, racks, and things. I mean, there's a whole chain here that
Mm-hmm.
exists all over the world. So it's good to see that all put together.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait for the conference. If it's in person, I will try my best to be there because I learned a lot. I think you should, now the world is open, I think you should do an in-person conference and just have people around the world come to Trinidad or somewhere and just do it up because I
Yeah,
will be there.
good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for taking an hour of your busy schedule to come talk to us.
That really
It was amazing.
that really flew. Thanks a lot for
Yeah, it did.
and I know you're tired, and thanks for taking the time to.
Yeah. Well, I honestly, I was excited. As soon as you messaged me, I was like, I'm doing it. I don't care. We're gonna do this. And anytime you want to come on, you just message me and we'll make it happen.
When the next series is out, yeah, sure.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm holding you to that.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming on. If anyone has any questions before we leave, now is the time. If not, I want you guys to have an amazing week. Thanks again for tuning in for this quick pop-ups since the world is open and everyone's busy. And I am busy as well. So, yeah, like I said, have an amazing week and hope to see you guys soon. Have a good night, everyone. Good night, Mark.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.